Every child has imaginary friends. Most of them are harmless. Funny names, silly faces, born from crayons and imagination. But I'm telling this story because what happened to my little girl wasn't imaginary. If you have kids, please don't ignore what they draw or who they say they're talking to. Sometimes those smiles on paper aren't just drawings. My name is Mark, and I'm sharing this because I need other parents to understand. I almost lost my daughter to something that lived in our walls. It started with a simple crayon drawing on the fridge. She called it her Smiley Friend. We thought it was cute. We were wrong. Like if you're brave enough to keep watching. Subscribe if you want to hear what's hiding behind the next door. The first one appeared on the fridge, held in place by a ladybug magnet. It was a crayon drawing by 6-year-old Lily, a simple, wobbly circle for a head, 2 black dots for eyes, and a wide red smile filled with triangular teeth. She called it her Smiley Friend. Her parents, Mark and Sarah, cooed over it, praising her creativity before the whirlwind of breakfast and work swept the memory away. The second drawing was taped to the living room window the next morning. This one was more detailed. The Smiley Friend was standing under a lopsided yellow sun, but one of its stick-figure arms was elongated, ending in what looked like too many fingers, all reaching for the sun. The smile was the same, a garish red gash. "You're getting so good, sweetie," Sarah said, ruffling her hair. Lily just stared at the drawing, her own smile absent. "Does your Smiley Friend want to block out the sun?" Mark joked. Lily didn't laugh. "No, Daddy. He's just hungry for the light." The third drawing was not on paper. Sarah found it scrawled in red crayon directly onto the pale wood of Lily's bedroom door. It was the Smiley Friend, but his head was tilted, and one of the black dot eyes had a single wobbly tear falling from it. The smile, however, remained fixed and wide. "We don't draw on the doors," Sarah said, her voice firmer than she intended. She was holding a wet cloth, but the waxy crayon refused to budge. "He was sad he couldn't come in," Lily whispered from her bed. That night, Mark was woken by a sound, a soft, rhythmic scratching. It came from Lily's room. He crept down the hall, his heart a dull drum in his chest. Peeking through the crack in her door, he saw her. She was sitting on the floor, bathed in the faint glow of her nightlight, furiously drawing on her wall. The scratching was the sound of crayon on plaster. "Lily?" he whispered, pushing the door open. She didn't look up. On the wall was a sprawling, chaotic scene. The Smiley Friend was in the center, but he was no longer a stick figure. He had a bloated, round body, and his multitude of fingers were now long, shadowy hooks. He was surrounded by smaller, cruder figures with sad faces, Lily's other drawings, her family of teddy bears and princesses, all lying on the ground, and in the Smiley Friend's grasp was a little girl with yellow crayon hair. "He says the paper is too small now. He needs more room to play," Lily said, her voice flat and distant. A cold dread, sharper than any he'd ever known, pierced his grogginess. He snatched the crayon from her hand. "That's enough, Lily. No more drawing. Go to bed." She looked at him then, and her eyes were old. "He doesn't like it when you're angry, Daddy." The ban on drawing lasted precisely 1 day. The following morning, they found a new picture on the kitchen table, though all the crayons had been locked away. This one was drawn in what Mark desperately hoped was grape juice, although its coppery smell suggested otherwise. It was the Smiley Friend, standing over two larger prone figures. His smile was so wide it split his round head in two, and from his mouth, drawn in frantic, sticky lines, poured a swarm of tiny, screaming faces. Sarah started crying. That was the final straw. They took down every drawing, scrubbed the door until the paint wore thin, and repainted Lily's bedroom wall a cheerful, oblivious blue. They told each other it was a phase, an overactive imagination. But the drawings didn't stop. They just changed mediums. Sarah found the next one formed from her own jewelry, laid out meticulously on her pillow. A necklace for the smile, 2 earrings for the eyes. Mark found one in his tool shed, made from nails and bent screws. The smile was a crescent wrench. The worst was the one in the backyard. They looked out the window to see Lily on her knees, patting a mound of dirt into a perfect circle. She'd used black beetles for the eyes, and for the vast red smile, she had carefully arranged petals from her mother's prize-winning roses. That night, the power went out. They huddled in the living room by candlelight, the wind howling outside like a banshee. The scratching started again. But this time, it wasn't from Lily's room. It was coming from the walls, all of them. A dry, skittering sound, moving from the living room wall, down the hall, towards their bedroom. Terrified, Mark grabbed a flashlight and followed the sound. It led him to their closed bedroom door. From under it, a shadow stretched, long and thin, with too many fingers. The scratching was coming from the other side. He pushed the door open. The room was freezing, and on the wall opposite the bed, drawn in long, grimy finger marks, was the final drawing. It was huge, covering the entire wall. It was the Smiley Friend, but he was no longer a drawing. He was a presence, a stain on reality. The eyes were deep, light-swallowing pits. The smile was a ragged hole, and from it came a low, wet, sucking sound. The flashlight beam began to die, the light dimming, being drawn into the blackness of those eyes. Mark stumbled back, colliding with Sarah, who had followed him. They watched, paralyzed, as the shape on the wall seemed to pulse. The scratching sound was all around them now, inside the walls, inside their heads. From the doorway, Lily spoke, her voice a tiny monotone chime. "It's finished his drawing. Now he needs colors. He says he likes the red inside." In that moment of absolute terror, a survival instinct, colder and sharper than the dread, cut through Mark's mind. He grabbed Sarah's arm, his voice a ragged whisper. "Don't look, just run." They snatched Lily from the doorway, her small body unnaturally rigid, and fled. They didn't stop for coats or phones. They ran into the howling night. The image of that hungry grin burned onto their vision and drove to the nearest motel. The 3 of them huddled in one bed, not sleeping until the sun rose. The next week was a blur of frantic action. They never went back to the house alone. They hired movers to pack their essentials, and they left everything else behind. The furniture, the toys, the drawings still stubbornly etched into the doors and walls. They sold the house as is to a developer, a palpable weight lifting from their shoulders as they drove away for the last time. The first stop was a therapist's office, a kind woman named Dr. Evans who specialized in children and paranormal sensitive cases. Gently, over weeks of sessions in a sunlit room filled with plants, Lily began to talk. She spoke of the Smiley Man who lived in the walls of the old house, who whispered things and showed her what to draw. She said he didn't like the light and got angry when he was ignored. The vacation was Sarah's idea. 2 months in a beach house, a place with no dark corners, no wallpaper, just the endless, clean horizon of the sea. They swam, they built sand castles, and they didn't draw. They told Lily, it was a screen-free holiday, a drawing-free adventure, and filled the days with so much real life that there was no room for whispers. It's been a year now. They live in a new apartment with large windows and white, bare walls. Lily is 7. She draws again, sometimes. Her pictures are of smiling suns and wobbly butterflies, and their family holding hands under a rainbow. They are perfectly, beautifully ordinary. She still has nightmares sometimes. They all do. On those nights, one of them will go to her room, turn on her nightlight, and sit with her until her breathing steadies. The old fear is a ghost itself, fading with time and care. The Smiley Friend is gone. He is a locked-away memory, a story of a bad house they once lived in. Lily is better. She is their little girl again, and the only thing that hungers in the night now is the quiet, manageable kind that a glass of water and a parent's hug can fix.